Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A simple form inferred as the common basis from which related words in several languages can be derived by linguistic processes. Someone from whom you are descended, but usually more remote than a grandparent. Become settled or established and stable in one's residence or lifestyle. Linguistics, the form of a word after all affixes are removed. The set of values that give a true statement when substituted into an equation. The place where something begins, where it springs into being. Communism's Russian root. Dig with the snout. The pig was rooting for truffles. A number that, when multiplied by itself some number of times, equals a given number. Botany, the usually underground organ that lacks buds or leaves or nodes, absorbs water and mineral salts. Usually it anchors the plant to the ground. Cause to take roots. Cheer for. She roots for the Broncos. Come into existence, originate. The problem roots in her depression. Plant by the roots. Take root and begin to grow. This plant roots quickly. The embedded part of a bodily structure such as a tooth, nail, or hair. A simple form inferred as the common basis from which related words in several languages can be derived by linguistic processes. Someone from whom you are descended, but usually more remote than a grandparent. Someone from whom you are descended, but usually more remote than a grandparent. Anything that precedes something similar in time. Phrenology was an antecedent of modern neuroscience. A preceding occurrence or cause or event. Preceding in time or order. The referent of an anaphor, a phrase or clause that is referred to by an anaphoric pronoun. Someone from whom you are descended, but usually more remote than a grandparent. Position or state of being dominant or in control. That idea was in the ascendant. Most powerful or important or influential. The economically ascendant class. Tending or directed upward. Rooted and ascendant strength like that of foliage. Someone from whom you are descended, but usually more remote than a grandparent. Position or state of being dominant or in control. Most powerful or important or influential. Tending or directed upward. Come to terms. Settle into a position, usually on a surface or ground. Dust settled on the roofs. Bring to an end, settle conclusively. Become settled or established and stable in one's residence or lifestyle. He finally settled down. Come as if by falling. Get one's revenge for a wrong or an injury. I finally settled with my old enemy. Go under. Make final. Put the last touches on, put into final form. Take up residence and become established. The immigrants settled in the Midwest. Sink down or precipitate. Settle conclusively. Come to terms. We finally settled the argument. A long wooden bench with a back. Fix firmly. Accept despite lack of complete satisfaction. We settled for a lower price. Arrange or fix in the desired order. She settled the tea cart. Become clear by the sinking of particles. The liquid gradually settled. Become resolved, fixed, established, or quiet. The roar settled to a thunder. Cause to become clear by forming a sediment of liquids. Come to rest. Dispose of. Make a financial settlement. End a legal dispute by arriving at a settlement. The two parties finally settled. Establish or develop as a residence. He settled the farm 200 years ago. Form a community. The Swedes settled in Minnesota. Settle into a position, usually on a surface or ground. Become settled or established and stable in one's residence or lifestyle. Become quiet or calm, especially after a state of agitation. It took a while after the baby was born for things to settle down again. Become settled or established and stable in one's residence or lifestyle. Become settled or established and stable in one's residence or lifestyle. A terrorist network intensely opposed to the United States that dispenses money and logistical support and training to a wide variety of radical Islamic terrorist groups, has cells in more than 50 countries. Of low birth or station, base, is archaic in this sense. Base-born wretches with dirty faces. Use purified cocaine, by burning it and inhaling the fumes. Lowest support of a structure. It was built on a base of solid rock. A support or foundation. The base of the lamp. The most important or necessary part of something. A place that the runner must touch before scoring. Illegitimate. Numeration system, the positive integer that is equivalent to 1 in the next higher counting place. A phosphoric ester of a nucleoside, the basic structural unit of nucleic acids, DNA or RNA. A lower limit. Serving as or forming a base. The painter applied a base coat followed by 2 finishing coats. The fundamental assumptions from which something is begun or developed or calculated or explained. Linguistics, the form of a word after all affixes are removed. The place where you are stationed and from which missions start and end. The stock of basic facilities and capital equipment needed for the functioning of a country or area. The industrial base of Japan. Having or showing an ignoble lack of honor or morality. That liberal obedience without which your army would be a base rabble. Any of various water-soluble compounds capable of turning litmus blue and reacting with an acid to form a salt and water. Bases include oxides and hydroxides of metals and ammonia. Not adhering to ethical or moral principles. Base and unpatriotic motives. Installation from which a military force initiates operations. The attack wiped out our forward bases. Use as a basis for, found on. Base a claim on some observation. A flat bottom on which something is intended to sit. A tub should sit on its own base. Anatomy, the part of an organ nearest its point of attachment. The base of the skull. Debased, not genuine. An attempt to eliminate the base coinage. Electronics, the part of a transistor that separates the emitter from the collector. situate as a center of operations. We will base this project in the new lab. The bottom or lowest part. The base of the mountain. The bottom side of a geometric figure from which the altitude can be constructed. The base of the triangle. The principal ingredient of a mixture. Glycerinated gelatin is used as a base for many ointments. Used of metals, consisting of or alloyed with inferior metal. Base coins of aluminum. Used of opinions and actions, far beyond the norm. Radical opinions on education. Especially of leaves. Located at the base of a plant or stem, especially arising directly from the root or rootstock or a root-like stem. Radical leaves. An atom or group of atoms with at least one unpaired electron. In the body it is usually an oxygen molecule that has lost an electron and will stabilize itself by stealing an electron from a nearby molecule. In the body, free radicals or high-energy particles that ricochet wildly and damage cells. Linguistics. The form of a word after all affixes are removed. Markedly new or introducing radical change. Radical political views. Chemistry. Two or more atoms bound together as a single unit and forming part of a molecule. A character conveying the lexical meaning of a logogram. A person who has radical ideas or opinions. Arising from or going to the root or source. A radical flaw in the plan. Mathematics. A quantity expressed as the root of another quantity. Of or relating to or constituting a linguistic root. A radical verb form. Linguistics. The form of a word after all affixes are removed. Cylinder forming a long narrow part of something. A slender or elongated structure that supports a plant or fungus or a plant part or plant organ. Stop the flow of a liquid. Stem the tide. Linguistics. The form of a word after all affixes are removed. Thematic vowels are part of the stem. A turn made in skiing. The back of one ski is forced outward and the other ski is brought parallel to it. Front part of a vessel or aircraft. Cause to point inward. Stem your skis. Grow out of, have roots in, originate in. The increase in the national debt stems from the last war. Remove the stem from. For automatic natural language processing, the words must be stemmed. The tube of a tobacco pipe. Music, melodic subject of a musical composition. The theme is announced in the first measures. An essay, especially one written as an assignment. Linguistics. The form of a word after all affixes are removed. The subject matter of a conversation or discussion. His letters were always on the theme of love. A unifying idea that is a recurrent element in literary or artistic work. It was the usual, boy gets girl, theme. Provide with a particular theme or motive. The restaurant often themes its menus. A statement that solves a problem or explains how to solve the problem. They were trying to find a peaceful solution. The set of values that give a true statement when substituted into an equation. A homogeneous mixture of two or more substances. Frequently, but not necessarily, a liquid solution. He used a solution of peroxide and water. A method for solving a problem. The easy solution is to look it up in the handbook. The successful action of solving a problem. The solution took 3 hours. Serving to begin. The beginning canto of the poem. The time at which something is supposed to begin. The place where something begins, where it springs into being. The Italian beginning of the Renaissance. The act of starting something. He was responsible for the beginning of negotiations. The event consisting of the start of something. The beginning of the war. The first part or section of something. It was a dark and stormy night, is a hackneyed beginning for a story. The descendants of one individual. The place where something begins, where it springs into being. Jupiter was the origin of the radiation. Properties attributable to your ancestry. He comes from good origins. An event that is a beginning, a first part or stage of subsequent events. The point of intersection of coordinate axes, where the values of the coordinates are all zero. The source of something's existence or from which it derives or is derived. The rumor had its origin in idle gossip. The place where something begins, where it springs into being. A developed system of roots. Fixedness by or as if by roots. Strengthened by rootage in the firm soil of faith. A publication, or a passage from a publication, that is referred to. He spent hours looking for the source of that quotation. Someone who originates or causes or initiates something. Anything, a person or animal or plant or substance, in which an infectious agent normally lives and multiplies. The place where something begins, where it springs into being. Pittsburgh is the source of the Ohio River. Anything that provides inspiration for later work. A person who supplies information. A document, or organization, from which information is obtained. The reporter had 2 sources for the story. A facility where something is available. Get, a product, from another country or business. She sourced a supply of carpet. Specify the origin of. The writer carefully sourced her report. Technology, a process by which energy or a substance enters a system. A heat source. Dig with the snout. Defeat disastrously. Make a groove in. Cause to flee. Rout out the fighters from their caves. A disorderly crowd of people. Dig with the snout. An overwhelming defeat. The visual appearance of something or someone. A perceptual structure. The composition presents problems for students of musical form. The phonological or orthographic sound or appearance of a word that can be used to describe or identify something. The inflected forms of a word can be represented by a stem in a list of inflections to be attached. Make something, usually for a specific function. Any spatial attributes, especially as defined by outline. Establish or impress firmly in the mind. A body of students who are taught together. Create, as an entity. Social groups form everywhere. Biology, a group of organisms within a species that differ in trivial ways from similar groups. A category of things distinguished by some common characteristic or quality. Sculpture is a form of art. A life-size dummy used to display clothes. Develop into a distinctive entity. Alternative names for the body of a human being. The spatial arrangement of something is distinct from its substance. To compose or represent. This wall forms the background of the stage setting. Give shape or form to. Form the young child's character. Physical chemistry, a distinct state of matter in a system. Matter that is identical in chemical composition and physical state and separated from other material by the phase boundary. A mold for setting concrete. They built elaborate forms for pouring the foundation. An ability to perform well. He was at the top of his form. An arrangement of the elements in a composition or discourse. The essay was in the form of a dialogue. A particular mode in which something is manifested. His resentment took the form of extreme hostility. A printed document with spaces in which to write. He filled out his tax form. Assume a form or shape. The water formed little beads. The phonological or orthographic sound or appearance of a word that can be used to describe or identify something. The phonological or orthographic sound or appearance of a word that can be used to describe or identify something. The phonological or orthographic sound or appearance of a word that can be used to describe or identify something. A piece of stored information that is used to identify an item in an information storage and retrieval system. Law. The principle that an act done at a later time is deemed by law to have occurred at an earlier time. His attorney argued for the relation back of the amended complaint to the time the initial complaint was filed. Sexual activity between individuals, especially the insertion of a man's penis into a woman's vagina until orgasm and ejaculation occur. A person related by blood or marriage. He has distant relations back in New Jersey. An act of narration. He was the hero according to his own relation. An abstraction belonging to or characteristic of two entities or parts together. Usually plural, mutual dealings or connections among persons or groups. International relations. An animal or plant that bears a relationship to another, as related by common descent or by membership in the same genus. A person related by blood or marriage. Police are searching for relatives of the deceased. Properly related in size or degree or other measurable characteristics, usually followed by 2. Earnings relative to production. Estimated by comparison, not absolute or complete. A relative stranger. Make stable and keep from fluctuating or put into an equilibrium. Support or hold steady and make steadfast, with or as if with a brace. Become stable or more stable. Make stable and keep from fluctuating or put into an equilibrium. The drug stabilized her blood pressure. Support or hold steady and make steadfast, with or as if with a brace. Become stable or more stable. The economy stabilized. An unofficial association of people or groups. The smart set goes there. Get ready for a particular purpose or event. Set up an experiment. several exercises intended to be done in series. He did 4 sets of the incline bench press. Representation consisting of the scenery and other properties used to identify the location of a dramatic production. The sets were meticulously authentic. A relatively permanent inclination to react in a particular way. The set of his mind was obvious. Disappear beyond the horizon. The sun sets early these days. Decide upon or fix definitely. Put or set, seeds, seedlings, or plants, into the ground. Establish as the highest level or best performance. Set a record. Urge to attack someone. Set down according to a plan. A carefully laid table with places set for 4 people. Usually followed by to or for, on the point of or strongly disposed. We are set to go at any time. Converted to solid form, as concrete. Make ready or suitable or equip in advance for a particular purpose or for some use, event, etc. Determined or decided upon as by an authority. The time set for the launching. Equip with sails or masts. Insert a nail or screw below the surface, as into a countersink. Locate. The film is set in Africa. Fixed and unmoving. With eyes set in a fixed glassy stare. Put into a certain place or abstract location. Adapt for performance in a different way. Set this poem to music. Psychology, being temporarily ready to respond in a particular way. The subject set led them to solve problems the familiar way and to overlook the simpler solution. Become gelatinous. Situated in a particular spot or position. A house set on a hilltop. Fix conclusively or authoritatively. Set the rules. Evil Egyptian god with the head of a beast that has high square ears and a long snout, brother and murderer of Osiris. Arrange attractively. Alter or regulate so as to achieve accuracy or conform to a standard. Estimate. The process of becoming hard or solid by cooling or drying or crystallization. He tested the set of the glue. Bear fruit. Set in type. My book will be typeset nicely. A group of things of the same kind that belong together and are so used. A set of books. Any electronic equipment that receives or transmits radio or TV signals. The early sets ran on storage batteries. Apply or start. Set fire to a building. A unit of play in tennis or squash. They played 2 sets of tennis after dinner. Being below the horizon. The moon is set. Fix in a border. The goldsmith set the diamond. Give a fine, sharp edge to a knife or razor. Mathematics, an abstract collection of numbers or symbols. The set of prime numbers as infinite. Put into a certain state. Cause to be in a certain state. Set the house afire. Put into a position that will restore a normal state. Set a broken bone. Set to a certain position or cause to operate correctly. Set clocks or instruments. The act of putting something in position. He gave a final set to his hat. The descent of a heavenly body below the horizon. Before the set of sun.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.